Good morning. Hope everyone had a lovely summer. Welcome to Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee. The date is 9th of September and it is 10 a.m. We are live and let's begin. Do we have any apologies, Mandy?
We've had no apologies, thank you, Chair.
Are there any further apologies? No? Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Okay. Is everyone happy with the minutes from last meeting? Do we have a proposer and a seconder?
Propose.
Seconder? Thank you. Next, item 4, the Customer Feedback and Complaints Annual Report. The leader of the Council, Councillor Cooper, will be introducing the Corporate Complaints and Customer Feedback Annual Report. I believe we have a presentation for us by Emily Dorbar, the Complaints Manager, to give us some background on the complaints process and the 3 complaints reports. Thank you.
Introduce this report. Oops, yeah, I'm okay. We're going to introduce this report for the complaints for the years 24 to 25. This is prior to this particular administration, so I can take no responsibility for the contents of that. However, I'm more than happy to pass it across to my colleague Emily, who will do a slide presentation. We'll take any questions from there.
Thank you, Chair. So in introduction of this report, I've provided the annual report for health and care, as well as for corporate complaints, and the final report is for children and families. I've provided today some slides that cover some of the main points from all 3 reports and provide them for you in comparison to each other. As you can see from the slides on screen, you can see the total number of complaints that were received in the last year, the total number of ombudsman contacts, the total percentage of complaints either upheld or partially upheld, as well as the compliments that have been received for the organisation. I've also provided within the slides an overview of 6 key metrics for each of the 3 areas. They cover some of the same data in the original slide, along with some of the themes that are prominent within each report, any of the key financial metrics from within each report, and also the full breakdown of upheld, partially upheld, and not upheld complaints. A key component of the reports and our statutory obligation is to share with you for scrutiny and annually publicly the learnings and improvements that are seen within the organisation as a result of those complaints. They will present differently for each area depending on the themes that are prevalent and also their statutory obligations. And we'll also share with you the key improvements or planned improvements for the customer feedback and complaints team as a whole. I'd like to draw scrutiny's attention to some work that's already started and is due to be completed in the coming months. We've already looked at and changed the definition for a corporate compliment to define that better. We've got due in the next week, at the request of Councillor Large and Councillor Cooper, we're completing a strategic review of the customer feedback and complaints team, focusing very much on any inefficiencies and actions from learnings within those reports. We've got due in mid-October a focus on the timeliness and access to real-time data. We're improving the reporting. The team launched a new case tracker system to more effectively monitor and report on complaints, inquiries and compliments at the organisation. So we'll be looking at improving that reporting and being more transparent and more real-time in the data. And by the end of the year, we're accessing some learning via the LGSCO, who are the governing body for corporate complaints, for both the team and key people that have been identified in the organisation. I've provided you with a high-level assessment of those 3 reports, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to open for questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have any questions from members? Councillor Farrell?
Yeah, thank you. Good report. I just wondered, how do you deal with complaints that come through social media and other informal ways?
Complaints, I alluded to earlier that we're governed by the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman for complaints. So there's a process we must follow when receiving complaints. There's a criteria that they must meet. We do have a relationship with our communications team. They're responsible for managing social media comments and accounts and reports. If something were to meet the criteria, it would be shared with the team directly, and we'd make contact with anybody that would meet that criteria for it to be considered a corporate complaint. So it would depend on the complaint that's being made.
Any further questions? Councillor Hall?
Hi. Yeah, the new case management system sounds promising, but how is Cabinet going to use it to drive real change in the eyes of the residents?
Thank you, Councillor Hall. The new case management system is exciting. It gives us a lot more access to, it gives us much clearer access to data. It gives us a better mechanism to track the real-time progress of complaints. It's not just complaints, but also LGSCO investigations will be handled by the system, and other complex work that can sometimes sit with the teams and the service areas over a number of days, up to 30, 60, 90 days. That often can be work that's difficult to track. It will also include a learning module that will allow us to report on specific learnings against each complaint that's either upheld or partially upheld, and we can provide that data and those reports on not just what's being complained about, but also what learnings and actions are being made as a result of that. We'll be able to report on those more easily. It will also enable us next year at Scrutiny to provide you with more data in order to scrutinise, which you can present back to us and challenge us on.
Thank you. I think regarding more data, I'll be honest with you, I think it's probably a bit too much in the report anyway. Has it got dashboards and things like that, so we can sort of hone in on what's important?
I completely agree. The data from last year was on our old system, and it was more difficult to get that insight out of it in a more focused way. We're already redesigning the reports ready for next year, and we're testing those out internally to see how we can focus the data more clearly, create that more dashboard feel. It's important that you are given as much data as you can in order to scrutinise, but I completely agree that needs to be more focused, and that is completely our aim.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of repetition as well in these reports as well, I think, which I mean, it's tough enough. I find it quite difficult to get through, so I would imagine a lot of the general public who might want to look at this will find it impossible, actually. So it's good to hear it's changing. Thank you.
If we want to talk about further questions, would the Cabinet members like to talk about their personal reports and do a small briefing about their report, or...?
Can I just answer that a little bit? I mean, I presume you were going to raise a complaint about the nature of the report. That'd be quite an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, the point is about complaints is what do we do with them and what do we do going forward? And that's the more important thing. So obviously people have genuine complaints. We have to take them seriously. We have to look at them, review them, and then decide what kind of action we're going to take going forward to improve the customer service for everybody. I know personally myself, when you get complaints, it might be, you know, whether it's a genuine one or something frivolous. And that's always hard to determine at the very beginning. So, yeah, I think it's a good report, and it does spell out the fact that going forward, we're going to take some actions.
Yeah, why we wanted to take a strategic look at it was because the way you're absolutely right. It needs to be very clear, the approach, and there's lots of clarity and the standardisation across each different area. But one of the things that I think is important is prevention. That's the key thing. If you look at that, there's a 20-day, some of the parameters of a 20-day lapse time before we're responding. The key, what we want to do in the new strategy is look at how quickly we react to that, because what the evidence shows us is that if we get on the case early on, we can resolve the problem earlier. The longer it's left, the more people get disgruntled, and then that rises up the complaint ladder. So it's quite important, is that. And then the second one is the complaints that we get that are upheld. That's an area of to do with training. And I've had some experience in the past with a public sector business where it's to do with attitudes of staff and so on. And that's something within our remit. If it's a policy or a procedural thing, that's another thing. But attitudinal, we should be able to bring that down significantly. It's been climbing up over the last 3 years. So what we want to try and do is put some training and education into how our staff handle complaints out there.
Thank you. Councillor Doherty.
You mentioned before the 80% resolved at first contact. I'm assuming the other 20% are formal investigations and ombudsman reviews. So what are we going to be doing to reduce that number?
I think it's important to note one of the key pieces of advice from the LGSCO to all councils in the country is that our aim should never be to reduce the number of complaints or investigations. It's an important part of complaining. It's an important part of customer service that people that feel disgruntled are able to make complaints. So we actively avoid looking at the volume from a target point of view. Instead, the metrics that we look at are around the number of complaints which are upheld, which would indicate, for example, the amount of complaints that we should look into further or we need to learn from, or the number of financial remedies rather than the volume.
What I actually meant is the 20% that are currently informal investigation and ombudsman review. Some of them are months and months and months. What I actually meant was, what are we going to do to resolve those complaints?
Apologies, thank you. It's okay. Some of the complaints are complex. Some of the complaints or the investigations that are much longer can sometimes be multifaceted. A customer's experience can perhaps touch more than one service area. And so what we do tend to see is for those that have more require input from more than one area, or for example, in the cases of health and social care where we might need to receive input from the MPFT, for example, or partners that we work with, those can sometimes take longer. But what Councillor Large alluded to is around the desire to look at our timeliness to try and resolve things much sooner and to work with service areas to improve their timeliness to get those resolutions sooner. That's very much going to be a focus in the coming 12 months as to what we can do as a complaint team to improve that timeliness. Part of that will be providing better access and real-time dashboards to service areas so they can see actively the number of complaints that they've got open, and so they can see which ones they need to focus on. Another part will be around training to improve the culture and approach to dealing with complaining or complaints or investigations. So it's going to be part of that strategic review, what specific actions, but completely agree. Timeliness needs to be very much a focus going forward. I think that's something that you definitely picked up on and agreed with too. Yeah.
It also is, it's so important that when somebody complains that the person that's receiving it becomes the customer champion. If someone can say, I hear what you're saying, I'm going to come back to you, I'm going to go and have a look at it, we should embrace that, and actually then we become the customer champion to be able to go back and say, I want to resolve this problem quickly for you to your satisfaction. And if you head that off much, much earlier, the customer is always, you know, they responded quicker. Yes, they might not be happy with the outcome, but it was dealt with in a professional and quick manner and expedited as fast as possible.
Councillor Rose.
Thank you. My question was about the new 2 staff members in the department. I was just wondering how this will kind of assist with the overall kind of department, how the structure works, with the canon complaint system, and, you know, whether the decision to have more senior staff rather than, you know, the frontline staff, how was that decision kind of made, and how will that kind of improve the department going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Rose. So to explain and provide a bit more context to everybody today, the 2 new staff members, I am one. So complaints didn't, the customer feedback and complaints team used to report directly into an assistant director, and instead they now report into me as head of customer excellence. So within my portfolio, I have the reception teams, the ladies who manage county buildings and the other reception areas, as well as the customer service centre. The reason we felt that that would be a good move last year is that bringing all of those customer elements together would enable us to share those learnings across all of those access channels, and to improve the experience for our residents and anybody who's making contact with us overall. The second appointment is a lady called Emma, and she's here today. She's at the back of the room. She's the complaints manager, and she replaces the old complaint manager who retired at the end of last year. So there hasn't been an increase in headcount. There's been a slight change in roles, but hopefully you'll find that that was purposeful, and that it will hopefully lead to better transparency and sharing among all of that customer data, and not just looking at customer data in specific silos. Does that help provide better context? Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? No? I've got a question myself regarding the new rules that are coming in next year with the handbook. I believe the goal is 10 days to answer complaints, I think, in the book. How can we, because we were already over most on each report, like 45 days average and other ones. How can we get it that far down to that level?
Thank you. So first point I would make is when we were discussing this and Councillor Large and Councillor Cooper were asking for the strategic review, their plan is that the new policy, the new complaints policy that will take into account the changes that are coming from the complaint handling code, all of that will align together in the new year. We're already partway through drafting that and completing those changes. There is an implementation plan that will be included as part of that strategic review that will look at, it's in draft at the moment, so forgive me, but it will look at specific elements like customer centricity, efficiency, process, timeliness, training skills. And so moving the organisation to be better prepared for those changes that are coming from the complaint handling code is going to be key. It's not going to be solved with one thing. It's going to require changes to a few different elements within the team to better enable the organisation to make that shift. And we've covered some of those today.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions from members? No? Are we happy to accept these reports? Yeah. Right, thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation and the complaints. That was very useful for us, understanding how the system works and all that, so thank you. Next, item 5, Overview and Scrutiny Work Programme Update. The report before you is an update on overview and scrutiny work for the first quarter of 2025-2026 municipal year. It has been a busy time for members new to overview and scrutiny who have been attended induction training and planning sessions to develop their work programmes for this year. Work programmes that prioritise issues members want to look at, but are not set in stone. They are reviewed at each meeting to consider timelessness and relevant reports, and to take into account emerging issues and new information received. The report provides a summary of scrutiny activity for the first period. Appendix 1 provides the 4 Overview and Scrutiny Committee work programmes for your consideration and approval. Appendix 2 provides a summary of all reports scheduled and work groups planned up to December. Appendix 3 provides a tracking log to show outcomes and recommendations made to Cabinet and partners. If there's any questions regarding this or any chairs that want to add to this, we can talk about this, but that's just the update regarding the scrutiny programme this year. No? Happy with that? Thank you. Item 6, the work programme. So there's been a few updates since the last meeting. There's been a call-in meeting added on the 21st of November due to a special cabinet meeting. The local government reorganisation report should be coming to scrutiny on the 28th of October committee meeting, and the Councillor Murray should be presenting this. And the delivery plan, which has been taken off the 28th of October committee meeting, and the strategic plan has been added to the 24th of February 2026 committee meeting. I think that's all the updates regarding the work programme. Any questions regarding this? No? Where we can go on to item 7, the exclusion of the public, but I don't believe we have any private items, so if we're happy to end the meeting, if that should be all good. Happy? All right, thank you very much. Hopefully everyone has had a good meeting today and interested in the complaints reports. So thank you.